boys, girls, and everyone in between. Alas, on the most loving day of the year, on Valentine's Day, the season of Mastery Realms for Classic WoW were closed. They were closed forever. They're gone. They're dead. On February 14th, 2023, WoW Classic Seasons of Mastery will come to a close. We are way past the 14th. We are 2 days when this podcast is airing. So, they're done. They're gone. But, however, they might be gone. But it has been hinted at in multiple developer interviews that there will likely be future seasonal experiences for Classic Era Realms, which, I mean, yeah. Because here's the thing, like, WoW Classic is fucking big. It is really big. It's still... When I got, like, burnt out of Wrath of the Lich King, it was around the time... It was like 2 weeks after Nax had launched. I was burned out. I had got all the way to 80. I had done a bunch of dungeons and stuff, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna take a break for a little bit because Dragonflight was coming out. There was stuff for Final Fantasy, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna go over here and do this for a little bit, you know. But then I come back, right, and I expect like there's like not going to be that many people. You know, there's going to be like, you know, Dalaran's going to look kind of empty on my server because my server, Mancrick, I think at the time I joined it, it was like a medium pop server. So I was like, okay, so, you know, the expansion high has died down. There's going to be less people. Oh, no. Oh, no. There were more. In fact, there were so many more people in Dalaran compared to Valdrakken. I was lagging in Dalaran. And I was not lagging in Valdrakken. Now, on retail, I play on Wormrest Accord. I also play on Moonguard. Those are the two biggest roleplay servers in the Americas. Yeah? There's a lot of people there. So that tells you just how many more people there were playing Wrath Classic than retail. I also know that Classic WoW, vanilla World of Warcraft, has a lot of people that like playing it. They like that version of the game, and I don't really blame them. Classic WoW is definitely like, it's definitely a niche thing. You know what I mean? It's not for everybody. But a lot of people really like it. It's for a lot of people. And I know that one of the servers, I think they've been doing some sort of hardcore challenge on Vanilla WoW, if I remember correctly. I've seen stuff about it before. So there's obviously still to this day like an interest in it. You know what I mean? Classic ain't for me, that's for sure. Yeah, I mean how I would describe Classic is like it is a completely different game compared to what we have today. Now I started with that game, right? I started with Burning Crusade, so like I'm used to that stuff. That is the World of Warcraft that I fell in love with. So I'm gonna be more nostalgic and more like comfortable playing it because I've been there, you know. But I know that like a lot of people have been there and they fucking hated it. But what we have now, they really like. And Iron Man, yeah. So one of the classic WoW servers is like an Iron Man. They have like it's like a hardcore server. I think I was talking about it the other day. And one fucking dude, I remember watching the clip. I don't know if I can find it, probably not. But like, this dude, they were doing the hardcore stuff, and everybody had this add-on, I think, and it tells you when somebody dies, so that you know that they're dead, that they no longer can compete, and it tells you what they died to. Some motherfucker. Some dumb fuck. He fucking jumped off the Zeppelin right outside of the Undercity and died. And that's how his Iron Man ended. That was wild. Anyways, going back to Season of Mastery. I had a lot of thoughts about this. Because, obviously, Classic WoW, it ain't going nowhere. You know, a lot of people are playing Classic. A lot of people like Classic. A lot of people really like Vanilla WoW as well. And we're kind of past Vanilla WoW now since we're on Wrath. And comparing Vanilla WoW to Wrath Classic, right, is like, okay, well, you're comparing a red apple to a green apple. They're still apples, but they're completely different. You know? One's sour, one is not. So, for a lot of people, they want to go back to vanilla. And Season of Mastery kind of scratches that itch for a lot of people, especially if they are the type that want changes. Because that's what Season of Mastery is all about, is making changes to old WoW to make it better and more fun and more inviting to those who might have played it before and want it to be mixed up, players who have played it before and don't really care and want to play it again, and those who are like, I don't know, I kind of like retail and retail's a lot better, but like I'll try it out if they like do some quality of life stuff, you know. So I had a lot of thoughts on what exactly they could do to make the second season of Season of Mastery better, because the first season, I mean, it really didn't do much. It was like, what was it? It was like they increased some boss health. They got rid of world buffs, I believe. You leveled kind of faster, and that was really it. And to be honest, like Season of Mastery, you didn't hear about any of it for a while. That's because it like died off because it didn't change. It tried to please two audiences at once, right? It tried to appease those who want to play Classic but don't like Classic, and they want changes to the game because the game back then, I mean, let's be fucking honest, it's really fucking jank. Versus like people who wanted no changes at all. And so they tried to find a balance between them. And I'm going to be honest, there's no possible way that you can find a balance between like people who want changes and those who don't, right? Because they are polar opposites. They are butting heads with one another. So you either go full send and you do a bunch of changes, or you do no changes. Either way, one group's going to be mad because you can't appease them both. Because if you try to appease them both, what's going to happen is that neither of them are going to play, and that's kind of what happened to Season of Mastery. Nobody really played it. And that's kind of the sad part, because I know a lot of people, like I just said, want to play Vanilla WoW. They want to play Classic. So, I was debating with myself on what they could do to kind of mix things up, to make it better, you know? Now, I lean more into the idea that you embrace changes. Fuck the people who don't want changes. Give them one server and they'll be happy. You know? But the majority of people, right, they want changes. They want quality of life improvements to WoW Classic. They also want stuff like Season of Mastery, where things are changed and mixed up every season, and different things are relevant and all this sort of stuff. So, my idea, I had some thoughts, right? Because I was like, well, if you want changes to Season of Mastery, you don't want to change too much. You know? Because if you change too much, you're going to lose the spirit of WoW Classic. You know what I mean? So I thought, like, well, what the fuck could you do? Like, in theory, you know? Do they base each season around like a theme? You know, like Diablo 3, if you've ever played that game, they lean into this style of season where like each season is unique in some way. Each season for each class is like a different armor set that you can get, etc., etc. And then after a couple months, it'll reset and you can do it all again. I've played a lot of Diablo 3. And my idea is that if you wanted to do a Season of Mastery and you wanted to make it work and make it good, you need to lean into that. You know, you need to lean into the Diablo 3 style of season where you make a character and you go through it and you like, and it's themed around something, and by the end, you know, some of your stuff you will keep and then other stuff you won't, you know. And then you'll reset back to level 1. You can do it all over again. It's just like, for WoW, how the fuck do you do that? because like I said, like, you could base it around a theme, you know, like, but like, what would be the theme? You know, like, usually each expansion kind of has a theme, but if we're gonna take, like, vanilla WoW, Kalimdor and the Eastern Kingdoms, no Dark Portal open, no none of that. What do you theme this world around? You know? Like, do you theme it around, like, fire? You know, like, do you make it so, like, all the mobs in the game have, like, special fire abilities or something, and instead of rain, it'll rain fire or something like that, like ash, kind of like in the Burning Steppes or the Searing Gorge. You know, like, do you do something like that? Because if you do something like that, like, and make a lot of the different, you know, homies deal fire damage and things like that, well, now fire resist gear is very important. So you want fire resist, you know what I mean? Now, another thing is, like, do you instead, like, base it around one of the older raids, where, like, the only raid that is out is Molten Core, you know, like, for, like, the fire theme, for example. Like, the only raid you could do is Molten Core or something. And so your whole goal is to go and kill Rag, you know? Like, do you do something like that, where, like, all the other raids are inaccessible, so that no raid tier is really, like, better than the other, so you don't just, like, do the same shit over and over again? You're always going from, like, okay, you're gonna go from, you're gonna level from 1 to 60, then you're gonna go get some dungeon gear or whatever, then you're gonna go get a bunch of people, and then you're gonna go kill Ragnaros in the Molten Core, and you're gonna level 1 to 60, and then you're gonna get the same dungeon gear, and then instead of going to the Molten Core, you go over to Zul'Gurub. And you do that raid, and that's the only raid that is available for, like, a month or whatever. Like, do you do something like that? You know? Either way, whatever they want to do, you know, one of my big thoughts is that they need to lean into the Diablo type system. And what is one of the Diablo type systems? Well, for each season in Diablo 3, they have a season journey chart. It is this right here. This little thing right here. I'm going to zoom in. It's kind of shit quality, but bear with me. So as you can see here, this is chapter 1. Usually there's like 7-8 chapters or something like that, I believe. And by doing all the objectives, you gain a portrait frame, you gain a pet, and then you can move on to the next chapter, which will then give you something else, and then something else. Usually it's tier gear in Diablo. I don't know if they should do that for Season of Mastery. They could, technically speaking, like, you could very well make it so that if there's only one raid available for, let's say, Season 2 of the Season of Mastery, you know, if it's Black Wing Lair, well, before you run Black Wing Lair in original WoW, you would want to go do the Molten Core, right? And you would want to get that gear. So maybe you could have it so that if you do all the journey steps, you will unlock the tier gear from the Molten Core. So then you can then jump into Black Wing Lair, and then you won't have an issue, like, you know, struggling with mobs, and then Blizzard doesn't have to sit there and fucking retune it and all sorts of stuff. You know what I mean? Anyways, but as you can see here, for like chapter 1, it's like go and do 5 bounties. You could have it be like, okay, go do 5 quests, go complete a daily, or, you know, socket a gem into an item. Like, you could do that in WoW. Like, you could do these types of things in the actual game, you know. Like, here's here's another one. Here's one of the higher chapters, right? You want to do a Greater Rift 25. So you could do this, like, oh, you want to complete Stratholme or something, you know? You want to finish a Nephilim Rift on Torment 6 or higher within 7 minutes. You could do something like, okay, you want to kill the third boss of Blackwing Lair in 6 minutes or something crazy. You know what I mean? And to just check off these objectives, and then by the end, you get like a nice portrait. Well, not really a portrait, but like a title or a pet. You know, something cosmetic, something that at the end of the season won't reset, and then it'll carry over to the next season. Because the big thing about a Diablo season is that you can rebirth your character. What does that mean? Well, it's basically you take your character that you have right now. Let's say you take Bannerac. I'm going to use Skull as an example. You take Bannerac. He's level 60. He's fucking decked out in Blackwing Lair gear. He's a fucking Giga Chad. You know, well, at the end of the season, instead of just wiping away your character, you can then choose to rebirth the character, and you reset Bannerac back down to level 1. However, all your playtime and all your stats will stay. I think out of any feature, the season journey and the rebirth system for Season of Mastery, in Diablo, has to be transferred over to Season of Mastery if they want Season of Mastery to work. You know what I mean? Anyways, they kind of already have it, which, because you can transfer over your character to the original classic servers, which I think that's what they need to do, is at the end of every season, you can rebirth your character, and then all your items will be sent over to, you know, regular classic WoW, and then you can have all the stuff that you earned from that, and then you can have your title will carry over to that, your pet will carry over, so people know that you did it. You know what I mean? I think that would be very neat, and I think that's how you would keep Season of Mastery from just like dying out. You know, and so it's not like this again, where like nobody did it besides that one guild. Oh, that's another thing too. They have the actual Iron Man like buff inside of Season of Mastery. So like you could very well have hardcore servers, because there are hardcore servers for Diablo 3 for their seasons. You can make a seasonal hardcore character. I think they could do that for WoW as well. Maybe make the rewards or whatever a little bit more prestigious, because you went and killed Kel'Thuzad without dying once, without anybody in your party fucking it up. Also, I would fucking say, one of the big changes that would need to come to Season of Mastery. Look, I'm gonna be honest. Getting 40 people together sucks ass. It sucked ass back then. It sucks ass now. Nobody really wants to do that. Especially not for something that's seasonal, where like it's gonna go away in a couple months. So like, who really gives a fuck about a guild or whatever? So what you probably want to do is you probably want to go back and you want to add scaling to the raids in terms of how many players are in the raid, you know? In retail WoW, we call this flex rating, which, I mean, it was flex back in Mists of Pandaria, but then they just implemented it to the raids in their entirety. But basically, if there are 10 people in the raid, it will scale to 10 people. If there are 27 people in the raid, it will scale to 27 people. Now, because it is classic WoW, I believe that the scaling should go from 10 players all the way up to 40. So you can have those big ass 40-man raids going in the Molten Core. You know? Of course, for like The later raids like Anchorage, I don't think there's AQ10 and an AQ40. I think AQ10 you could probably leave at 10, so only 10 players can go in and do it. Wasn't there a 25 man? Was Zul'Gurub 25 or was that 40? I don't remember. But I mean, you could like, if the cap for the old raid was 10, well, it's maxed at 10. If the cap was 40, it's maxed at 40. You know what I mean? So just in case you want to, you can, but you don't have to. You know, you want to make Season of Mastery something that is inviting and that people can just jump into if they really wanted it. I believe it was 40, but 25 also sounds right. I'm going to look right now. Zul'Gurub. It's a 20-man raid. It wasn't 25 or 40, it was 20. It says right here. It was a 20-man raid instance. So there you go. 20 people. You can have anywhere from 10 to 20 people. Man, we're stupid. Not me. I looked it up. Anyways. But you get what I'm saying though. Like there are a lot of options. It just really depends on how far they actually want to go with it. Because they could go fucking crazy with Seize the Master if they really wanted to. Like they could make it so that like, you know, every season is a different expansion, if that makes sense. So season 1, the season that just ended was classic, and then season 2 was Burning Crusade, and then season 3 is Wrath, and then it resets and it goes maybe Burning Crusade this time, then it goes classic, then Wrath, or then Wrath again, or something crazy.